Alrighty, welcome to another amazing lesson of Pro Mandarin. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, studying every day is so boring. It might even be a waste of time. Or maybe you're thinking, this crab is so difficult to eat, it might just be a waste of effort and energy. Or perhaps you're thinking, work, or maybe even gardening is such hard work, it's kind of a pain in the rear. Well, if you ever want to know how Chinese express themselves in these ways, you're going to want to stick around. But first, you're probably wondering, can this guy really teach me all this Chinese in one short video? Well, let's find out. Alright, so in the first column, we're going to start off with some adverbs and adjectives. The first word is tian tian, which means sky sky, or day day, or in other words, it means every day. And then we got mei tian, which literally means every day. And then we got 经常, which means quite often or frequently, which you can also kind of use it in a way of saying all the time or almost all the time or something like that. But I'm going to give you the word for all the time as well, which is 一直. Now for the next column, the first word we're going to use here is 看, which means to look, to watch, to read, something along those lines. So I'm going to give you a few different words that you can pair up with that. The first one is 电视, which is television, so to watch TV is 看电视. And then we got 电脑, which is computer, so 看电脑 means to be on the computer. And that's just one of the few ways that they say to be on the computer. And then lastly is 视频, which means videos. So 看视频 is to watch videos. And just for a little bit of clarification on 视频, it could be on the 电脑 or on the 手机. It doesn't really matter where you're watching 视频, okay? In fact, that's what you're watching right now. Alright, the next word we have here is 玩, and we're going to pair that up with two different words here. We're going to have 电脑, which again is computer, so 玩电脑 means to play on the computer or to be on the computer, either one. And then 游戏, which is game or games. 玩游戏 could be any kind of games, board games, video games, whatever kind of games you play. The way you'd say that is 玩游戏. Alright, and then we have another adverb, 很, which means very. And usually we say is very in English. They don't have to say is before it. They just say very, and then they say whatever adjective. So the first adjective is going to be 无聊, which means bored or boring. And then we have 浪费时间, which means is a waste of time. So 浪费 means to waste, and 时间 means time. And then we got 烦人, which means annoying to people, or it's annoying is really what you're saying. So you can actually leave off the 人, put that in parentheses so you know that. You could just say 烦 or 很烦, but you'll hear it both ways. So if you were to say watching videos every day is a waste of time, one of the ways you could say that is 天天看视频很浪费时间. 天天看视频很浪费时间. And then if you were to say playing on the computer all the time or quite often is boring, you could say something like 经常玩电脑很无聊. 经常玩电脑很无聊. Now if I were to add 他, which means he or him, and say 他经常玩电脑很无聊, you'd think at first glance that that means he is bored from playing on the computer all the time. But it's also from the speaker's perspective as well, where you could be saying, it's boring to me that he plays on the computer all the time. And that'd be based on the context of what the speaker is talking about. And if you use DeepL Translator, they'll only show you the one way of translating this. But from talking to a lot of different Chinese people about this, many of them will say it's still from the speaker's perspective. So I'm going to show you a way to clarify that it's him that feels bored while he's playing on the computer. So all we have to do is say 感到 before you say whatever adjective. So in other words, 他经常玩电脑感到很无聊. So this is what he feels. He often plays computer, feels very bored. And there's at least a couple other ways of saying it. You could say 感觉 or 感觉到, and you would say it in the same format. Now let's get into a few practice questions before we move on to the next section. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to try to figure out the answer yourself, and if you need a little bit of time, go ahead and pause the video. So with that, how would you say it's a waste of time to play games all the time? And we're going to use 一直 for this one. 一直玩游戏很浪费时间. 一直玩游戏很浪费时间. Now I'm going to go ahead and add on 你, which means you. And with this, how would you say it's annoying that you play games every day? And we're going to use 每天 for this one. 你每天玩游戏很烦人. 你每天玩游戏很烦人. And of course you can leave off the 人, so you could say 你每天玩游戏很烦. Now let's go ahead and do one more practice question before we move on. So how would you say watching TV every day is a waste of time? And we're going to use 天天 for this one. 天天看电视很浪费时间. 天天看电视很浪费时间. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next section. But before we do that, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and click that like button and please subscribe. It really helps me out a lot and it allows me to continue to make quality content like this video. Now with that, let's go ahead and get back to the lesson. Alright, we're going to take the middle section out and we're going to change it up a little bit. And we're also going to change one of the words in the last section here in just a minute. But first, let's go ahead and add the words in the middle here. So first we have 种菜. So 种 means to plant and 菜 is vegetable, so 种菜 means to garden or to garden vegetables. So we're going to talk about that. And then we got 投资. Now 投资 means to invest your money, and that would be in things like real estate, 房地产, as well as 股票, or in other words, stocks. Now the first thing that's probably going through your mind is, no, it's not a waste of time, it's not boring, it's not annoying, or maybe you think it's annoying, I don't know. But most likely you're actually thinking, nah, it's really stressful. That would be the word that I would use for it. Well, the way you'd say that is 投资的压力很大. So they say investing's stress is very big. That's the order you're saying this in. Now I put the in parentheses because you could actually leave it out. You could say 投资压力很大, which again, this really means that investing is stressful or investing is a lot of stress. But they don't say a lot of, they say very big stress, okay? But you might not think of it that way. Maybe you think it's exciting. Well, exciting actually isn't used in the same way here. But the word exciting in Chinese is actually attributed to the person that's feeling excited, rather. So investing doesn't get excited, but you get excited from investing. So one of the ways you would say that is 投资让人感到兴奋. 投资让人感到兴奋. So what we got here is investing makes people feel excited, okay? So that's what you're saying. So now you could also say 投资令人兴奋, which would be that investing leads people to excitement, okay? So that's another way of saying it. And there's other ways of saying it other than that as well. But again, we're going to talk about it in the frame of the words that we're already using right now. And again, this is based on individuals' perspectives of what they think investing's like. Now, the next word we got is 工作, which means work. And this could be whether you're in the office or you're out doing physical manual labor or anything like that. It's all work. And of course, you can also say work is very stressful. And you say that the same way as you would investing. 工作的压力很大. 工作压力很大. So again, you could also leave out the in this one. Now, lastly in this column, we got 做, which means to do or to make. And then we have 作业, which is homework, so to do homework. And then we got 做菜, which means to make vegetables. Well, you're not gardening here, you're actually making food. So if you're already aware, in many of my videos I'll say 做饭, which means to make rice, or in other words, that means to make food. But also 做菜 means to make food, or in other words, they both mean to cook. Alright, now, we're going to go ahead and take out the word 浪费时间, which is a waste of time. We're going to put in 麻烦. So here are some possible definitions of 麻烦, because it does have some different usages. Bother, bothersome, troublesome, hard, difficult, strenuous, laborious, time-consuming, a pain in the rear, or in other words, a lot of work. Now, I'm going to give you another word as well, which I'm not sure if it's just a Beifong word. That's what I was told it might be. But at any rate, it could kind of be used interchangeably with 麻烦. It's 费劲. So if you look at 费劲, you'll notice that the 费, it comes from 浪费, or to waste. But in this case, it actually means more of to spend or to expend. And then 劲 is energy or effort. Now, according to those that use this word, it's a little bit of a higher level or more intensity than 麻烦is. And some people say it's more of just the task at hand, not an ongoing task. But just know that if you use 麻烦 where 费劲 seems like it should be used, or 费劲 where 麻烦 seems like it should be used, just know that either way Chinese people are going to understand you. So I'll give you a few examples with 费劲 before we move on. Something like 吃螃蟹很费劲. So maybe you're eating some crabs and you're thinking, man, eating crabs is such a waste of energy, or it's so strenuous, or it's hard to do, or whatever, something like that. It's a pain. That would be one way of saying it. Now you could also say 很麻烦. And let me go ahead and give you 2 more examples. So the next one is 把这个罐头打开很费劲. So the way I would translate this is take this can and open it is very strenuous, or is a waste of energy. So it's really hard to do, right? I'm having a hard time. I'm having a difficult time here. That kind of a thing. And then the last one would be 修这个电脑很费劲. So 修这个电脑 would be to fix this computer, or fixing this computer is a waste of energy, or it's really hard to do. And before we move on, there's actually one other word here, 难. Now, for a lot of you, this is the first word that you actually learn, 很难, which means it is hard, or it is difficult. So the thing with 难, it being hard or difficult, the thing that makes it a little bit different here is that you're usually talking about this thing just being a difficult thing to do in general. Whereas if you're using 麻烦, it's possible that it could be something simple to figure out, but it's time consuming, maybe a lot of work, or tedious or something like that, then you would use something like 麻烦. So with the words that we're using here though, how would you say it's hard to invest every day, or it's kind of a pain to invest every day? And we're going to use 每天 for this one. 每天投资很麻烦. 每天投资很麻烦. Alright, then how would you say doing homework all the time is boring? And we're going to use 一直 for this one. 一直做作业很无聊. 一直做作业很无聊. Now, how would you say it's a pain to cook every day? And we're going to use 每天 for this one. 每天做菜很麻烦. 每天做菜很麻烦. Now let's do a couple more before we finish up today's lesson. How would you say gardening is a pain, or it's a lot of work? 种菜很麻烦. 种菜很麻烦. Alright, last one before we finish up today's lesson. How would you say it's annoying that you work every day? And we're going to use 每天 for this one. 你每天工作很烦人. 你每天工作很烦人. Now, before I finish up today's lesson, I'm going to go ahead and give you 3 more words here. The first one is going to be 我, which means I or me, and then 我们, which is we or us, as well as 你们, which is you guys. And with what you see on the screen, I'm going to ask you 3 more questions that you can write your answers in the comments below. So the first one is, it's annoying that we watch videos every day. The second one is, it's a waste of time that you guys garden every day. And then the last one is, it's boring that I do homework every day. And keep in mind, you can use 天天 or 每天 for any one of these. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, go ahead and 点赞、订阅和分享这个视频. Or in other words, like, subscribe, and share this video. And until next time, 下次见.